This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
It is an honor to be here. Thank you, Karen. Before I begin, there's many heroes here, but one in particular, Bosch Foston, very brave and tremendously talented illustrator. A real honor to have Bosch in the room, ladies and gentlemen. And his first printed book edition is out of Pigman 1. And so please get it and support his work, and it's an honor to have his illustrations at Front Page Magazine. Ladies and gentlemen, I usually have a 1 hour speech that I try to fit in. So I try to figure out what to say in 15 minutes. So I thought I would just speak a little bit from the heart. Why am I here? What is my own journey? Ladies and gentlemen, my parents were dissidents in the Soviet Union, and so I grew up from the ages from 1 to 5 in a hellhole. Just the evil empire, as Ronald Reagan summarized the Gulag Archipelago in one sentence. And to make a long story short, because that's another 3 hours, we managed to escape, and we just got out of hell. And I came to the United States when I was 5 years old, and I love this country so much. And even when you don't intellectually understand freedom, you understand it with your spirit, because I remember what a magical, precious place this was. Even at the age of 5, I was just in awe. My mom said my jaw was just dropped looking at the department stores, at all the toys and McDonald's and Burger King. It was just amazing. But I do know that atmosphere. Even as a little kid, I remember that terror was gone. And my parents were, they were brave people, and they did speak the truth in the Soviet Union. That's why they got in trouble. But I remember that feeling of freedom, of no longer fearing a knock at the door. And it's just such a precious thing. And I would get on my knees and kiss the ground here. That's how much I love this country. So thank you for having me here. So you can imagine where this is going. So growing up as a kid, I started seeing these people that were yelling at my dad and mom, telling them to shut up, telling them that they're fascist and racist, very condescendingly telling my parents that where they came from was a great place and where they were now was an awful place. And I was very confused by all of this. And these people, they loved Stalin, they apologized for Mao Zedong, they engaged in all these strange arguments trying to justify the North Vietnamese and that they were the good guys, et cetera, et cetera. And I found out that these people were leftists. So to make a long story short, come to 9/11, after Bush liberated, whatever word you want to use, but, Iraq and Afghanistan and everything that was happening there, I remember the leftist radical feminists in the anti-war demonstrations marching side by side with Islamists screaming Allahu Akbar. And I remember just looking at that image and thinking, it was all coming full circle from my childhood of who these people were. And these women in these demonstrations, they would be extinguished within 30 seconds of contact when these people will take power. But we know that this is the story of the fellow travelers. We know this. We know it's a death wish. We know it's a self-hatred. And we know the story of the leftists that went to try to build their utopia with Khomeini, and they were all killed. We know what happened to the Bolsheviks under Stalin. It's continuing till this day with the radical feminists going to Gaza and what happens to them while they try to help that side against Israel. So there's this self-devouring going on, but unfortunately they bring us all down with them. So that's what United in Hate is, my friends. So I wrote this book, United in Hate, which you can see at the back. It's a history of how the left has always sided with tyranny, whether it was Fidel Castro or Mao Zedong, what exactly is going on there, but I extended it into the modern time because the flirtation and romance with communism, as we know, has now evolved into the flirtation and romance with jihad. And of course, we see it. I mean, look, Trevor Loud and Frank Gaffney, they've documented all this in terms of that romance that Obama had with the Muslim Brotherhood, letting the Muslim Brotherhood into the administration. It's just a catastrophe. Catastrophic Failure, Stephen Coughlin's book. This is must reading. You have to get it because he's documented how the left has allowed this and how the Muslim Brotherhood, believe it or not, is actually directing the foreign policy of the United States. And so this is another discussion because I love Trump and Trump represents tremendous hope. Great guy, great president. I consider him a providential godsend. But here's the thing. The left is so powerful in terms of how it's penetrated the government and the administration and allowed the Muslim Brotherhood in, that unfortunately the Bannons and the Gorkas and the Richard Higginses are out. And now we've got the McMasters and the Tillersons and the Mattises around Trump. And these are jihad deniers. These are the people that believe these beliefs that are part of the enemy camp that I'm discussing. And the key is the flirtation with jihad today. And how does it work? With the time that I just have, just let me synthesize this in a couple seconds, that jihad denial is crucial for the left. So this is what we need to focus on here because, and this is in many respects where my TV show came in, because for years, you know, I'm watching the TV. And so let's say even what happened at the Halloween massacre recently. We have a guy that's screaming Allahu Akbar and killing Americans. Then you put it on CNN, MSNBC, CBS, wherever, you know, oh, Allahu Akbar is said in the most beautiful of circumstances, you know? And okay, let's even put aside the moronic asininity of that statement. What is the impulse? That's what I'm interested in my life. What makes a person say that? Why aren't you focused on the victims? How come you're not saying the names of the people that died and wondering, why did this guy kill them? Why is it immediately, it's not all Muslims, it's not all Muslims, we can't hate all Muslims, you know, and the Old Testament, I mean, that's got a lot of violent phrases in it, and you know, but, you know, we can knock all those arguments down one by one, right? But my interest throughout my life is, what is that? Where does that come from? What is that instinct? And the scary thing is it's not just this crazy professor anymore. David Horowitz, this is mandatory reading. This is just the master of understanding this. And he's written, you know, this volume series, The Black Book of the American Left. You got to get it. But you're not going to get better documentation on how the left fights culture war because they're brilliant at it and conservatives are not. And that's what Horowitz is trying to teach conservatives. You've got to fight. I mean, one of my greatest irritations is I'll say what Anderson Cooper just said on CNN, and I get these comments on Facebook. You watch that? Oh, I'll shoot them when they come to my front doorstep. This is the problem with conservatives. Why are you even letting them here on your front doorstep? You should have been involved in the culture war to stop the people from being on your front doorstep. Right? But the left is fighting 24/7, and the problem now is, my friends, they dominate. They rule academia, they rule Hollywood, they rule the establishment media, they rule our higher culture. They're controlling our discourse. And if you watch our discourse very carefully now, the left controls it. And so I wanted to start asking the right questions. I actually, you know, should I wait for Don Lemon to introduce a show and say, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to analyze the real meaning about Allahu Akbar. We're going to show a few illustrations by Bosch Foston tonight. Nani Darwish and Brigitte Gabriel are here this evening. You know, Robert Spencer and Pamela Geller are here and will show us a few pictures of Muhammad and discuss the origins of jihad and the... This is not going to happen. And so, you know, I created the Glazov Gang, and I wanted to get a web TV show out there, you know, that discusses these things. I want to bring these people on. I want to bring Bosch on, or Robert Spencer, or Nani Darwish, discuss what the left is. And then all of a sudden, you know, I thought that we escaped the Soviet Union, but the Soviet Union came to us. And I'm really mind-boggled by this. On another level, I'm not mind-boggled by it, because once you understand the left and how attractive it is and how addictive the virus is that causes leftism, it's to be expected. But I'm still saying, as a human being, it's overwhelming that instead of me being somebody that's patted on the back because I love this country, instead I feel like I'm an enemy. Now, not under Trump. I mean, there's a breath of fresh air with Trump and a lot of hope. But I will say I'm from Canada. I'm trying to stop saying A at the end of every sentence. And my abouts apparently are a little weird. But I have to say that when I came here from Canada 7 years ago, I love this country. One of the reasons I came here is to help protect this country. And I felt like an enemy here the entire time that Obama was in office. I was the bad guy. So I'm trying to do this TV show now to protect America, to protect freedom, to point at the enemies of freedom in the United States. And YouTube, you know, look, you can call me paranoid, but a lot of people are talking about this with people with YouTube shows. Something very strange is going on with our subscribers. I mean, how many people unsubscribe in 1 hour? Something with our views is going on. And then all of a sudden, there's no more advertising. Then we're told that we're demonetized. We're trying to have a GoFund campaign because we're a fan-generated program. And GoFund campaign shuts our GoFund campaign down. So I don't know how this has happened, but we know how, because the love of freedom is now somehow white supremacy, right? Like, my whole life, part of something that I do and what I've been concerned about, I care when a 5-, 6-year-old girl in the Muslim world, oh, and I'm an Islamophobe, by the way, but, I spend years fighting on behalf of Muslim girls that have broken glass taken to their private parts without anesthetic and have the most private genitalia ripped out of their bodies. I care about this and want to stop it because of what's in Sahih Muslim and Sahih Bukhari. And somehow I'm a white supremacist because I want to stop female genital mutilation. I mean, the logic here is just incredible. And so our show is now being persecuted because apparently Islamophobia is the new white supremacy, right? And so I don't want to pull off a Don King here or anything, but the envelopes of the Glazov Gang are on the table. If anybody here knows any millionaires or perhaps is a millionaire, the instructions are there on how to help our show keep going. I will just say quickly, it's an honor for me also to work for the David Horowitz Freedom Center, an organization. Just an honor and a privilege to fight on the front lines with David Horowitz, just a modern-day hero. His books also on Holy Alliance, this volume series, The Black Book of the American Left, the website, discoverthenetworks.org. It's a website that shows how the left and our enemies, and now today Jihad and the Sharia perpetrators, how they work together. Just want to repeat just a few works. Stephen Coughlin, it's one of the most important works today, Catastrophic Failure, where he explains how all this is happening. And before I go, this is a 1-hour lecture, and I still can't fit it in. But I'll do it under a minute and a half. Just in terms of the left, because this is what I do, this is what I try to study. So I'll just leave you with 1 minute of my own attempt at wisdom of what I found. Why? What is this? What is this that Allahu Akbar is said under the most beautiful of circumstances? I just want Jake Tapper to name one instance. I just want Jake Tapper to explain why he felt that he had to say that. And when is the 1-hour feature presentation on what it actually means, and invite Robert Spencer? Why doesn't this happen? And by the way, this is almost the benign element. And what I mean by that is we know today that Antifa just met with ISIS in July, the G20 summit in Germany. So this romance is continuing, right? So I'll just say this. The first lie, you can be God. And it happened in the Garden of Eden. And I don't mean to scare too many people here or whatnot, but I see a spiritual battle here very much, and I'll save the Christian sermon for another time. But leftists are so self-appointed redeemers. They hate God's hierarchy. They hate God's order. They hate the Judeo-Christian tradition. They hate everything about it. They're gods, and they're going to create a perfect planet of sameness and equality. And they're going to build this utopia on the ashes of the earth that they want to destroy. That's why the left celebrated Ground Zero in 9/11. I document this in the introduction to United in Hate. Boy, were they happy, because the oppressed and the poor and the downtrodden had fought back. They saw that as a very beautiful moment. And so the left, these self-appointed redeemers, they're going to save the planet, and they're going to create utopia because they're gods, and they decide who is saved and who are the damned. David Horowitz has done the best in documenting this. So my last minute here, how the psychology works, even though this is very multi-layered and there's a million other examples to point out. Am I supposed to dance, or what is that? Okay, I promise it's just 60 seconds, but this is how it works. Jihad, Halloween massacre, a guy screaming Allahu Akbar, killing a whole bunch of Americans. Leftists are looking. Jihad, Islam, oh, now what if this starts? Oh, Islam, oh, Surah 929, Surah 95, Surah 474. Gee, those are pretty violent verses, pretty violent commands. Wow, that's a pretty violent religion. Geez, there's some evil stuff going on over there. Now here we go. What's the next thought? You know, maybe our way of life and our civilization isn't so bad. Maybe the West and the Western civilization and the Judeo-Christian tradition is worth protecting and saving. Maybe we are superior to that way of life and thinking. What I just said, if the SPLC guy is here, you're probably just trembling, because those words are anathema to the leftists. Do you ever see these leftists watching Trump talk? I was on the plane the other day, and this woman's watching MSNBC, and Trump comes on, and she just starts, it's almost like a holy water on during an exorcism, right? But they can't handle even what I was just saying, that maybe the West is good, maybe capitalism and democracy are good, maybe there's something worth protecting and saving here. You see, they can't make that step, because this host society is what they need to destroy to build their paradise. So jihad denial is mandatory, right? Because they're the self-appointed redeemers. They need to destroy this society, so they're in league with the people that want to create the Sharia paradise. They're going to create the classless paradise. Of course, the next stage is they get killed, but that's the next chapter. Thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor.